What's going on, guys? Welcome to another podcast. It's been a little bit since you've heard our voices and just our voices. We don't have a guest today. You get to hear our beautiful voices and get to see our pretty faces if you're watching online. But yeah, maybe not. But anyway, guys, we're excited to come back to you. Today, we're going to talk about kind of what everyone experiences in the construction industry, which is specifically highs and lows, right? You have it in every job. I would argue that construction has a little bit more highs and lows across the board in comparison to some other jobs, maybe not a doctor or some job that you're working 80 hours a week or a lawyer or whatnot, but in comparison to a lot of other 9 to 5s, construction is not 9 to 5, but there is a lot of up and downs in it, right? There's hard work, long hours, long projects that kind of get arduous and get a little tough to stay in the game mentally and sometimes even physically, right? You can easily let your body deteriorate if you are not careful. You can stop working out, you can stop doing the things that you need to do because let's face it, you're tired, right? It's been a long day, been a long week, been a long month, been a long year, and you're just kind of over it. So, Davis, let's talk about some of your highs and lows that you've experienced over the course of your career. And as we do this podcast, our career is continuing to stretch out. So we have a little bit more stories to tell and highs and lows to give. So talk about it from your perspective a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think about highs and lows. I think about the different projects I've been on. I think. So think about different teams. I think about trade partners and just where I was at right in that process. Looking back on the past few jobs, I should have been more willing to step up. Maybe I think I've really, is it regressed? I don't know. I guess just not moved up the ladder where I would like to be in my career, just from the standpoint of I've been okay with letting people run over me, and I've learned how to have conflict now. And I know we talked about that at end, so I'm not going to focus on that. But when I think about highs and lows, construction, like you said, Walker, and this is I think what Jason Schroeder's whole system is what he's trying to get to. Like your
Yeah.
job should be boring, but until you get to that point, I swear it's highs and lows constantly, right? Especially in the field. And if we don't plan well, if we don't get out ahead of our guys that are working underneath us that we're responsible for, right? They're
Yeah.
going to be thinking everything's great. It's a high, done things well. And then all of a sudden you hit with a fire, then it's a low. And you got to figure that out. Then you figure it out, then you get another high. And so I'm going to use an analogy my superintendent and I have been working on. His name is James Myers, just a solid guy, an amazing man. Just couldn't say more about him. Just the guy I've needed for a really long time. Just a dude that really just thinks about the people. It's really rare. He's like, I have 2 jobs every single day. One's 1% more important than the other one. First job is to build the building. Second job is to build the people, and the building the people is more important than building the building, right?
It's
If I
awesome.
build the people, then the building's going to get built. And I wholeheartedly believe that, Walker. That's premise of our podcast, right? We want
Yep.
people to see that, and he's, I would say, in his late 40s. And that's just kind of rare to see that. So anyway, we've been talking about when you think about from the field perspective, the field guys aren't great at, okay, here's said goal, how do we get there, right? Here's said goal, and you know, let's say said goal was 3 weeks out. We're tracking. The whole first 2 weeks, we're doing great, man. Everything's smooth, everything's going well, and then the last week, 2 days out, we're going, oh crap, we're not gonna make this.
Mm.
So we move heaven and earth to get to that goal. And so, like, he viewed it as like if you have 2 points in a line, right? The PMs do a really good job out seeing the future, right?
Yeah.
They're back in the office. They have lots of people they can reach out to, good amount of resources, teams, right? Also, I believe they run meetings very efficiently compared to field. So there's all these different factors, but the PMs see out in front of where we got to get to. The field, for some reason, it's like we're always diagonal. We're not
Mhm.
exactly lined up with our goal. And so the last week or so, the last few days, man, we are just moving heaven and earth to get there. And so James asked me the question, why is that? Right. It really made me start to think about that. And so to approach that with the highs and lows conversation and to come off of Jason Schroeder, I think we do things that we strive to have the highs and we get addicted to the firefighting, right? So, I
Mm.
mean, I'm just going to be completely honest. I am ADHD 1,000. I don't even know, right? I love being busy every day.
Yeah.
And something that I've gotten to see being a part of, I'm not a foreman, but getting to run our self perform crews, I get to see more interaction from different superintendents and how they would do it and how they manage the guys and what are their steps. And so I've gotten to see, man, when this guy doesn't have anything to do, he'll create a fire like there's nothing, right?
Interesting.
And so then I'm in charge of helping our foreman, actual foreman, go and divvy up the manpower for the week, the day, get the plan right. And we sit back and we're like, man, this really isn't a fire, right? And so it's just getting to see all these things come together. And I'll shut up after this, but you get to a point in your career where you really just go, man, I'm kind of tired of fighting fires, right? You know, I am doing, I'm challenging our team. And I'm saying this from the standpoint, everyone's basically my age. It's foreman and AFM level. So that's really just like tier one at B&G. I'm challenging our team to just be just super forward thinkers, think about the future. What can we do to plan ahead, to think about, to ask questions, to get things solved beforehand? That way, when it comes to the site, whenever it's that next week, we're already ready, prepared. Obviously, it's not going to be a perfect world, but I'm challenging our team that let's get to that and let's strive for going through all the drawings, going through the shop drawings, making sure that we communicated about material and logistics and with our clients. I can't mention their name. Like, let's do all the things. And then if we mess up, all right, hey, we've done everything we can to check the box. But to get to the highs and lows part, I do think it's very important for a field guy to ask, am I addicted to fires? Right. Because if I'm addicted to fires, I'm constantly trying to ride that wave. But if I realize, hey, I am, now I can make the change to go, all right, it should just be a steady peak. We're just going to keep climbing, keep climbing, keep climbing. And we know when we get to a certain part of the job, there's going to be a lot like finishing. I don't know. Finishing is just crazy for us. But anyway, I'm kind of just rambling. But what do you think after that, Walker? Then I want to hear from you.
You a firefighter or a builder? No, I agree. I think it's really interesting you said that because that's kind of where my mind went. And then you took it right there. It was like I enjoy problems because that's what construction is, right? I like it when someone comes to me and is like, this is not working, right? We have an issue. Awesome. I get to go help you figure it out, and we're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna make it to where it's gonna look great at the end of the day. But as I've one gotten older, but two gotten further along in my career, I've started to come to the point of my project management experience of starting to think to myself, how can I avoid this problem in the first place? Like it has now become more fun a lot of the times of thinking ahead on something and saying, I can see where that's going to be an
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Let's resolve it right now
That's right.
so that we don't have to worry about that down the road. And
Yeah.
like you're saying, it's when a project is running smoothly, it is boring. So you have to be careful not to create that issue.
Mm.
But at the same time, you can redirect that energy into saying, well, it's boring because we've done a great job on the front end looking at things that could go wrong that didn't because we caught it early,
Right.
right?
That's right.
We've had a lot of missed blockouts and penetrations on our job, and pretty much all of them it is in a shear tower or a structural slab, and it's not easy to drill through that. We have to GPR it. We have to ask our engineer if we can drill here. We have to get someone out here to cut it, right? And so I've started looking now before we pour anything. All right, what's in here? What did I miss, right? Is there something in the model that's not in the plans? Is there something that we overlooked that actually does need to go in here?
Mm.
And our superintendents have gotten good at doing that. We caught one today that it wasn't in the plans, it was in the field. In the model, it's different, right? But back in the day, there was conversation moving things around. So we got things adjusted and got them redirected. And now it's in the field, it's in the right spot. We don't have to worry about it in the future.
Mm.
So I completely agree with what you're saying, and I also found that I like taking on the task. So someone comes to you and is like, this happened. Awesome. I do a bad job of just grabbing it and rolling with it. Whereas today I started to think to myself, I had a guy come up and he was like, all right, well, you can call, or can you call this guy? Well, the guy that he wanted me to call is in his company. And so I was like, look, man, this is your duck. Like, this is your project or your scope. I need you to take care of it. I will help any way I can,
Hmm.
but I need you to make sure that this gets done, right? So instead of me grabbing it by the horns and going for it, which is great, but my time now can be used in other areas, let me put it back on the sub whose scope it actually is. I'll give them all the tools they need. I'll give them all the support, but they need to run with it and figure it out. We'll figure it out together, but I don't want to be the one leading the charge anymore, right? I want them to do it. I will be in the background. I'll be the coach. I'll be the helper. I'll do whatever you need, but you got to lead the charge, right? What do you think of that?
I think it's good. I mean, that also, right, whoever that person is, it teaches them to grow. I think learning the word no is crucially important, right? You're willing to help them, right? And willing to step back, be a coach, kind of what James is doing. But I think back to Alex Willis, right? There's givers and takers, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's how life is, right? And if you always say yes to everything, one, you're not helping grow the person that needs to learn how to grow to have that conversation. But then two, you're just taking on everything and then not managing your responsibilities, right? So then it looks like you can't prioritize things. So
Yeah. With that caveat, like you just said, there are times when you do need to grab a problem, right? And you need to take it, you need to run with it. Or sometimes you do it as a favor to as a relationship builder, right? That's what construction is all about. Hey, I'll take care of this. I got it. Like, let me run it through with the engineer. Let me run it through with the architect. We can avoid an RFI process right now. We'll do a confirming RFI, but let's work through the problem right now. We'll get it all sorted out over call, over email, over whatever. And then we'll go through the channels and we'll document it. We'll make sure everybody knows. But let's come together first easily on Teams call, and we'll find the solution together right now, right? Because I can facilitate that, and then we'll go forward with the problem. So you're right. There's times that you do have to grab it and you have to roll with it.
yeah, let's zoom back out now. When I think about like jobs, right? So I am Walker and I are both extremely blessed to work for companies that really care about the people. Not everybody does. So I would say for the people that are in a sticky situation about where they've been and there's history of, hey, I've not been treating well, then it's a different scenario. But I think back to my first two jobs, again, work for a great company that takes care of the people, but hard jobs. Just be honest. A nasty renovation in New Orleans and then a tough job of a wood frame build that just came down to the wire. And so, two hard jobs, learned a lot, but I think all of those instances, hardships, highs, lows, whatever you want to call them, have prepared me for where I'm at today, right? It's easy in life to go, hey, I only want the highs, right? I think about that now, like, you can think about that with your diet, right? I only want to eat like sugar and like steak
Right.
and like drink a Coke, but I don't really need to, right? So it's like the things in life that are hard that make us grow, that give us a little bit of callous and grit to ourselves, right? That's ultimately what helps us the most. And so if I didn't go through those two jobs, right, I may not be where I'm at right now. I mean, I know I wouldn't. So I'm leading a bunch of young guys that just have a fire and a passion. I mean, I'm just truly thankful for where I'm at right now. It's really cool to be just fired up for in the field. But I just think back to people that work for good companies, stick it out, right? Find that
Yeah.
conversation you need to have, do whatever you got to do to stay connected to finish the job. But I'm so thankful that I just didn't call it quits, right? That I just said, hey,
Good.
I'm not going to finish this, right? So I would just encourage people, there's highs and lows every day. There's highs and lows on the project you're on. There's also highs and lows through like seasons and like years, right? So like two lows of jobs, and now I feel like I'm on a high job, which is pretty,
It's awesome.
pretty awesome. But you just have to take it day by day, right? And not to go off into the weeds again to a different conversation, but Walker and I have talked all about conflict, emotional intelligence, how do you talk to people, focusing on relationships, mental health. Like we have so many podcasts out that just kind of how do we combat the highs and lows, right? We've talked about this just at nauseum from different people. So I would encourage if you're new to listening, go look back, go look at our podcast with Wally Adamchick and Jesse Hernandez, and I'm trying to think of some other ones that were great. Adam Hoots, Jennifer Lacey, like that really just focus on people and learn from that and try to apply that to where you're at. And then Walker, I just kind of want to shift here now as I'm stepping into a new role. So I just want to talk about a little bit about that. But I know same role, but new company. You're getting more responsibility, married now, and just talk about, I guess, where you're at in life and what it's like to step into the new position you're at now.
Yeah, I think that I like change in certain areas. I'll caveat that in certain areas of my life, right? I do like some things to stay the same around home and stuff because I like to have like one thing anchored. But in terms of, I like moving different cities now. I like new companies are usually fun, new projects, right? Because it's just something different. But it all comes with its challenges. Everything new has its challenges. So I think for those who are going into a new company, a new job, a new city, a new whatever, find something that can anchor you, that you can come back to. Like for me, it's Jesus, it's my wife. I like having a place to call home, right? Apartment, home, whatever. Like that's kind of when you get back there, you're like, I'm safe, right? Great, awesome. But when you go back out again, it's a learning experience. It's something you get to grow from. You want to get out of your comfort zone, do hard things, whatever you want to call it. Um, when you go into a new company, every single thing's new. All the subs are new. You've never met them before. You never worked with them before. All the people that you work with are new. You don't know their habits. You don't know what they're like. You don't know how they act. You don't know how they respond to problems, to highs, to lows, to wins, you name it. So be patient, but also go out there and try to learn it, right? Get to know people, get to know the project, dive into you know this well, right? Davis does a great job at it. Dive into the plans, ask a lot of questions, get to know the people there for the people and not just for the roles that they play on the job. I think that the biggest thing that I have learned from Davis, from all the people that we have had on the podcast, and just my own life, is it is a lot better in the long run to develop an actual relationship with specifically the subs on your job site right away. Don't even talk about work. Sure, you can chat, but ask them how their weekend was, ask them what they're doing, right? Get to know them, get to know their life, see if they had kids. Don't be creepy about it, but just every now and then conversations come up. This is over the course of months and years. Learn about them, and they're going to go to war for you. If you have a
Oh yeah.
problem, they're going to help you solve it, right? If you're a jerk and something comes up, they're going to say, "Too bad, that's your fault. You got to deal with it," right?
Hmm.
When they come to you with a problem, don't be the one that says, "Too bad, that's your fault. You got to deal with it." Go
Hmm.
help them, like we
Hmm.
just talked about earlier. Take it on you, go and figure it out. So I don't know if that answers your question, but for me, right, it's it is the same habit that you have to do everywhere, but you just have to repeat it. And you have to be okay with starting over when you get to a new spot, when you get to a new company, a new job, whatever. You have to be okay with starting from zero. And you need to be humble enough to know that you're going to learn something from everyone. So even if someone is quote unquote a lower position than you are, right? You can learn a lot from them. I learn a lot from people every day in my office on the job site who are, oh, I don't know, just, worker bees or who are just laborers or people who are in a lower, quote unquote, lower position in the hierarchy, right? Everyone has a different experience than you do. So don't look down on someone. Take it as an opportunity that they get to teach you something that you have never experienced before or you don't know about or something that you've never done because you're new to the area, you're new to the project, you're new to construction in general. That would be my advice for being new to something. I hope that answered your question. But in your point of view, how has that been for you, especially jumping now? You're in a new city,
Hmm.
same company, but different job, new people, new subs, right? People that you've never worked with. How do you approach this sort of situation?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think back to again where I was at to come forward, and I think to stepping into a new role. To me, you have to always be willing to reinvent yourself, right?
Mm,
You can't ever get complacent. I think that's a big thing in construction, right? It's easy to just, okay, well, we just finished foundations and steel guys are coming and we got guys on, it's just, you get to the monotony of just the day, the job, right?
right.
Like you said, long jobs, being on projects for a while can really grind your gears. But I think, like you said, getting through, stepping into a new role, really just get to know the people, like you said, right? Get to know who that trade partner is, who that foreman is, the people that you're going to be interfacing with, right? And go figure out what makes them tick, what makes them not tick. Figure out what they like to eat, or whatever it is that you can get
So
them to do production, right? Like, and just think about a way to approach them because so many times we're focused on, hey, you're late, or You don't have all the material you need, or, when are you going to finish, right? And so take a step back, think about a new role, think about the people around you, really think about building the team, and then go from, all right, I'm stepping into a new role. Is there someone on the project I'm currently on that's in this role? How have they had success? If they have, what can you learn from them? What can you not learn from them? So I always go look at like the next wrong. I'm always trying to be. I know I'm not, but I'm playing a chess game with my superintendent every day. Every time he has to remind me to do something or tell me to do something, I get like, crap, man, I should have figured that. Man, I should have done it by now. I already knew that was on my list, but man, I should have that done by now, right? Like, I'm trying to play a chess game with him and drive competition because I like being ahead. I like knowing that he thinks that I'm thinking. And so he told me the other day, we've been doing these Saturday night dinners whenever our wives are working, and
Oh, cool.
he's like, man, I'm always trying to figure out how far ahead of me you are, right? So he's like, I've already built the building 3 times in my head, right? That doesn't mean I know the details, right? I get the sequence of things, right?
That's cool.
But I want to know where you're at. So like, whenever I bring something up and I see you hesitate, I know where you're at. Are you a week out? Are you 6 months out? Are you 2 weeks out? Like, where have you been at in the drawings, right? And so I'm completely going on a rampage here, but
No, that's good. Keep on going.
I want to I want to always reinvent myself and be uncomfortable. Like, I've gotten a lull stuck on this job. I've gotten a mini X stuck on this job. Apparently was trying to give myself an enema with rebar. Like, I've done stupid stuff because I'm just like in this new role. But guess what? Made a great relationship with an electrical contractor. He took a big 329 cat excavator over there, pulled the lull right out.
Nice.
Safety guy, didn't have any problems with it. He was like, I mean, I see what you were doing, right? Like, I had to tell them that I did not bury it. My lull driver did, but I did get it stuck. I will take that. The other day, today I got the Mini X stuck in gravel. Was just getting little tiny Mini X behind a garage wall, and the gravel got stuck in the tracks, right? And the guy just went over there, did some stuff, got it out pretty easy, right? You're gonna mess up and you're gonna fail, but I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay and willing to show the guys, hey, I'm willing to mess up and it's all right, and we're going to get out of it, because that then shows your guys that they can do that too. So,
that's
man,
good.
Go know the people, make great relationships, learn from somebody in that role, and then really just spend time diving into the plans. I always say that: dive into the plans, dive into the submittals, dive into what your contracts are, how they're written. Man, just dive into wanting to learn how to be a builder, because I don't see many people. I mean, there are people our age, but there's not many people my age in the field that are in a management position. And so it's pretty cool to see. To me, I've always been paired with a superintendent that's been at least 45 or up, except my last one. So I guess that doesn't count. I'll take that back. Just delete that. I had a really young superintendent last time. But there's not a lot of people that are wanting to go into the field and be in management. And so earning the right to the guys in the trades, to the guys that you're working for, showing them that, hey, I may not know everything, be vulnerable, right? All the stuff we talked about before. It's just that repeat. I feel like we're just, all right, roll the clip. Let's go back.
You got to hammer it in, right?
And, so it's just stepping into a new role. It's hard, it's challenging, but going back to highs and lows, you got to have some grit about you, right? You got to have some toughness, be willing to get through it. But man, you're going to get through it. Just if you work for a good company, they realize who you are. They're going to take care of you. Just reach your hand out and ask.
I love that, man. Before we leave, I want to hammer on what you brought up about making mistakes. And we talked about that before, but I was in the same position, right? I think I'll tell a story, but about making mistakes, guys. No one wants to do it. No one wants to make a mistake. And no one wants to own up to it either. But that's the best thing that you can do, is when you go to that person that you made the mistake with or against, excuse me, and you say, hey, look, I have mud on my face, right? I'm sorry. I messed up. Like, apologies on my end. This is what happened here. We had some gas valves getting delivered. Our contract's kind of different. We have a couple different owners. It is different vendors with under the owner sort of thing. So in this case, we have a vendor under the owner, but me and him become, close, working together, call each other every week, even though we don't have the same contract together, but we have to coordinate kind of together on this project, make sure everything gets done. So he was sending some gas valves for me and sent them. The delivery said It was signed for by W. Scott. Well, the trailers on our job site are Will Scott. So automatically, I know that this delivery driver just dumped these boxes off. No one on this job site's W. Scott, right? The signature looked like an A, just a quick signature. He just signed that sucker and threw the boxes somewhere and got out of Dodge because it was probably late or something. So no one knows where these are. Well, I call my guy up. Hey man, can't find these. No one here knows it. We go another week or so trying to find them just to make sure. I'm like, hey, like, is this the delivery driver's fault? Like blah blah blah. I just threw it out there. I can't find them. Well, we get new ones that get here, right? This is in our trailer, sitting in a corner that I thought were for the electrician because it was in a pile of other boxes for the electrician. And so I didn't even bother to go over there and read closely. I even looked at it and I was like, nah, this is not mine. I didn't open it. I didn't investigate. I didn't go
Mm,
any further.
mm,
And so I made this big fuss where at the end of the day, it was my fault. They were there,
mm.
right? And so I had to call them, say, hey, I'm sorry. I found them. They're
Yeah.
here. It's my fault. I thought they were this. There's no excuses. It's on me. And so his delivery driver had to come back, pick up the boxes. He had to deal with it on his end. I
Mm,
added a lot of extra work, right? I did not want to call him and say, hey, I found the other valves. The thought even crossed my mind to just pretend like
mm.
I never found them, right?
Right.
But I was like,
Right.
no, you can't do that. It's
Mm,
gonna come out in the wash at the end of the day. Like it's worse if you don't come forward and admit your mistake right now and just own it, own the consequences, whatever. Right at the end of it, he was like, look, man, nope. I know he's probably frustrated, but he said, no problem. I'll deal with it on my end. I'll get my guy back to get it. We'll send it back to the supplier, right?
yeah.
But that wasn't fun. And the same for you. You got those things stuck. You probably had the oh crap feeling,
Yeah.
like, oh great, I got to deal with this. It's more of a process.
Right.
But I think you gain a lot more respect with people when you're willing to open up, admit that you did something wrong, that's your fault, right? You got some pie on your face, and you just move forward from there. You learn. I've learned to scour the trailer and look in every box, even if I don't think it is the box,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And make sure that something is not there when I say it's not there, because
mm.
that's my word. And I
Yeah.
want what I say to be true at the end of the day.
Right. That's right.
So, guys, we appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. Hope that you liked it. Email us contact at laying-foundations.com. As always, we're here for you.